Go ahead.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's meeting of Oldham County Fiscal Court. I'm David Bogle, Oldham County Judge Executive. Happy to have you here today on the 16th day of February 2021. A snowy, cold day in LaGrange and all of Oldham County, elsewhere as well. But we're going to still have a good meeting here, and we're all here through the amazing technological advancement called Zoom. So happy to have you join us. Denise, the first thing we're going to do after we're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I guess we'll do that first. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you happen to have a cell phone with you, please turn it to off or vibrate. Even if your microphone is on, you might get a call during the meeting. All right, Denise Clark, our fiscal court clerk, please call the roll.
Magistrate Likens.
Here.
Magistrate Tice.
Here.
Magistrate Harrison.
Here.
Magistrate Greenwell.
Here.
Magistrate Hounds.
Here.
Magistrate Hawkins.
Here.
Magistrate Dye.
Here.
Magistrate Logston.
Here.
Judge Vogel.
Here. Having all members of the fiscal court present, this meeting is now in session. Is there a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Are there any
Second.
any additions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion, any objections? Motion is now adopted. All right, I'll ask Denise to please read the minutes from our last meeting, which was on February 2nd.
The Oldham County Fiscal Court convened at a regular meeting at 2 p.m. via Zoom and Facebook Live with Judge Executive David Vogel, County Attorney John Carter, and the following magistrates in attendance: Brent Likens, Wayne Tice, Albert Harrison, Steve Greenwell, Chris Hounds, Stephanie Hawkins, Bob Dye, and Michael Logston. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to approve the agenda as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. The meeting minutes from January 19th, 2021 were read and approved unanimously, with the addition of "which ends up not being easy" to the last line of the end of meeting comment by Magistrate Hawkins. Matt Rhodes, Director for the Oldham County Health Department, provided an update on the status of COVID-19 in the community and the COVID-19 phased vaccine campaign count. Ben Uselis, Senior Management Government Affairs at Charter Communications, presented information regarding the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund as it relates to the expansion of broadband service in Oldham County. Tracy Misson, Agriculture and Natural Resources Agent for the Oldham County Cooperative Extension Service, provided an update on programs provided by the Oldham County Cooperative Extension Service. The following sealed bids were opened and read aloud for the Old Zaring Road Bridge replacement. Hall Paving, Louisville, $283,325. Louisville Paving, $344,000. Todd Johnson Contracting, Danville, Kentucky, $186,733.55. The bids were provided to the county engineer for review and recommendation. The following sealed bids were opened and read aloud for the Goshen Hills Phase 2 and Lakeview Estates Drainage Improvements Project, Surveying and Engineering Services. BTM Engineering, Louisville, $22,600. Heritage Engineering, Jeffersonville, Indiana, $27,000. Jacoby Tombs and Lands, Louisville, $55,000. The Langers Group, Louisville, $68,990. Palmer Engineering, Louisville, $51,500. The bids were provided to the county engineer for review and recommendation. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Tice to accept the bid from Mack Construction in the amount of $1,335,759 as submitted. Jim Urban, Director of Oldham County Planning and Development Services, explained the cost will be split between Oldham County Fiscal Court and LaGrange City Council with each entity responsible for $667,879.50. Discussion followed. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Loxton and seconded by Magistrate Hawkins to authorize the payables as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Thomas McIntyre, Senior Planner for Oldham County Planning and Development Services, presented for first reading the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan Readoption. Jim Urban, Director of Planning and Development Services, and Thomas McIntyre answered questions from the court. The second reading is scheduled to take place at the Fiscal Court meeting on February 16th, 2021. Motion made by Magistrate Harrison and seconded by Magistrate Dye to postpone the decision on Amendment Number 2 for the Eden Parkway Extension Construction Contract until the Fiscal Court meeting on February 16th, 2021. Discussion followed. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Harrison and seconded by Magistrate Loxton to authorize the judge executive to sign the deed of correction to clarify the title on the courthouse property as the length of one side was stated incorrectly. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Harrison and seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to authorize the judge executive to sign the deed of conveyance of jail property on the courthouse square from Oldham County Fiscal Court to the Oldham County Public Facilities Construction Corporation. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Loxton and seconded by Magistrate Likens to adopt Resolution 01-02-02-21 for the continuation of paid leave for COVID-19. Discussion followed. Motion carried unanimously. Personnel actions, Oldham County Police Department. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Loxton to accept the resignation of Russell Fuller effective 1/31/2021 as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to adjourn the meeting. Motion carried unanimously. The meeting adjourned at 4:22 p.m.
You've heard the reading of our minutes from February 2nd. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right. Now we're going to move into the first item on our agenda today, and that's an update from our Health Department Director, Matt Rhodes, on the coronavirus vaccination program and any other information he'd like to share. So Matt, welcome.
Thank you and good afternoon, everyone. It's a beautiful day here in Oldham County. We did close for business today, and a couple of us made it in to do some work trying to catch up on COVID. I have some encouraging news. You all are probably tracking this information, but we are seeing a decrease in cases, which absolutely shows a positive sign for the incident rate for our community, and I'll share that as we go through. I'm going to try to go ahead and share my screen here initially, if I can. You all should be seeing a picture of our pretty building when the grass is green. That's not today, obviously, but so we'll go ahead and jump right into the presentation. As you all can remember, we've been showing the case count as it relates to Kentucky versus United States. Our Oldham County case count as of the latest report this morning is 6,867. We're up to 71 deaths. The mortality rate is 106 per 100,000. The case fatality rate is 1.0. You can see as that relates to the state of Kentucky, 1.1, and United States 1.8 mortality rate. It is surprising that in Kentucky we have a lower mortality rate than across the United States because our health indices usually don't rank high. We usually rank in the bottom 5 or 10 of states, but it speaks to the work I think being done by public health as well as by healthcare workers that are providing good therapeutic care for individuals once they're identified as sick. We'll go ahead and jump into the data as I presented before. It's just a continuation of the data count for weeks. You can see on week 2, which was the second week of this new year, we saw a high mark. We hope that it's a high mark for case counts. And ever since then, I guess I should say that this is a correlation which shows indication of gathering and events probably over the Christmas and New Year holiday time, but we've seen a steady decline in cases. ever since. And this week we're at our low mark for the last several weeks. You can see going all the way back to the midpoint of last year, we're down to around that mark. I had a question today I presented for the Rotary at lunch, and they asked when can we get back to normal? And I think that's the $1 million question. If I had the absolute answer, I could probably make a lot of money with that. But the one thing that I will say from a scientific perspective, when we can get back towards normal is when we go through 2 incubation periods with no new disease or no new cases. Incubation period being 14 days. So if we go 28 days without any new disease, that'll indicate that we're really heading in the right direction. So you can see here with this slide, we're showing the downward trend is almost a perfect negative correlation with regards to the incident rate in cases. These are lab counts or labs that have been presented as positive labs over the weeks. And you can see a sharp downward trend there. The total case count to date, as I said, was 6,700. The confirmed case is 6,242, and those probable cases are 625. Again, probable cases are individuals that have had direct contact with a confirmed case and they exhibit 2 or more symptoms. Have not been lab confirmed though. Age distribution across Oldham County, you can see it's a perfect bell curve, if you will, and matches demographics for the community. At the outset, we weren't seeing a lot of disease in the 0 to 9 and 10 to 19 population. You can see that has picked up throughout the outbreak. Racial distribution here, as I said, I think 2 weeks ago, the blank indicates that the data has not been collected. This impacts our ability to see ethnic and racial distribution, but this information not being captured shows that predominantly white, which is very true to our population demographics as well. This is text that summarizes the charts that I just shared with you. You can see a heavy skew in our cases to male, 63.9% or 4,390 are male compared to 2,413 female. Average age of cases is 42 years. It ranges from 2 months to 99 years of age. The race and ethnicity breakdown is there. The unique factors that we share every 2 weeks with regard to the cases, 190 report being a healthcare worker, ever hospitalized 171, ever in ICU 67, and recovered cases thankfully is 5,916. Our total deaths in Oldham County, you can see we're up to 71, again skewed heavily to male, 53, 18 females. The average age of death is 73 as it relates to these cases, 39 to 99 years is the age. We've had a bit of a switch here. Our long-term care associated deaths have increased to 32. Our correction cases are 31, and then community deaths equals 8. Again, the mortality rate and the case fatality rate is 1.0. This slide shows you a distribution of vaccine, and I will say, if a global pandemic wasn't already challenging with regards to the logistics to do case investigation or disease investigation, contact tracing, and testing, now we're into our vaccination planning. And if that wasn't logistically hard enough, now Mother Nature has stepped in and provided weather elements that we've had to manage around. So we had hoped to administer up to 2,000 doses this week. And in essence, what we do every 4 weeks, we have to replicate. So this week where you see 600 here, 300 on this day, and 119, that's 1,019 doses that we were prepared to administer the second dose this week. And then we were going to also administer 1,000 new doses for our older population. We were able to post 600 appointments online Friday, and thankfully they didn't fill immediately. It took about 11 hours to fill those 600 appointments. And unfortunately, as much as we try to communicate and put in red on our website, stop, do not register unless you're 70 and over, because that's the target population, or those healthcare workers and school teachers that we may have missed could still register. I still found about 82 of the 600 registrants were under the age of 70. And now we have to go back to check to see if we need to cancel their appointments, because we're really heavily focused on the 70 and older population for vaccine administration, because the evidence clearly shows that they have a much greater risk of dying if they contract the disease. So with that being said, I will share one other thing. I'm going to stop sharing the screen here and share the document that I think a lot of people want to see. See if I can share. I'll try to be quick with this. It's a state red zone. Can you all see the incident rate by county map, state map there?
Yep.
Okay, you might recall that Oldham County just a few weeks back was at 241. Now we're at 19.7, 19.7. That's not 197, that's 19.7, which says that we're below what is recommended or what is identified as the red zone. It speaks to the fact that obviously we like to see a good correlation or a positive correlation with vaccine implementation in the community. We know that there have not been enough vaccines administered yet. So what this speaks to is the fact that people are doing what's being asked of them. They're certainly trying to prevent social gatherings and practicing social distancing and wearing masks and making sure that we're breaking the transmission, which is in essence what we need to do to eventually get over this dreaded pandemic. So with that, I will stop and take any questions.
Matt, I had to tune out for just a second. How are we doing? I know we had 600 doses come in for this week. You've had to postpone and push forward the shots because of the weather. Can you
Yes,
give us an
sir.
update on that?
We did. We posted those 600 appointments on Friday. We were grateful to get that extra vaccine from the state. And it took 11 hours for those appointments to fill. We had originally scheduled it for today, but we did postpone it until next Tuesday. We're going to have it at the EMS headquarters. We're very thankful to them because they've offered their facility so we can have a drive-through clinic in their heated bays. And that will be next Tuesday, the 23rd of February. We're just going to move it forward 1 week. All of the appointment times will stay the same. And we have forwarded out notification to those individuals that appointment, that clinic has been postponed and rescheduled to next Tuesday.
Move to a different location.
It's going to be at the same location that we had originally planned, and that is the EMS headquarters over on New Moody Lane.
Right. It's too cold outside to be coming through your place.
Right, and that's one reason that we wanted to use their facility to try to protect the individuals that were coming as well as our staff as much as possible. I will say some more encouraging news that we heard this week as part of the retail pharmacy program. Both the Walgreens in LaGrange and the Walmart in LaGrange are going to have vaccine and start administering doses in the very near future too. So if individuals or customers are either Walgreens or Walmart, they may want to follow up with those institutions to see how they can register for vaccine there.
Now, are you expecting a similar amount next week of vaccine?
I'm not. What we've been told was that was a one-off offering of vaccine. We're hopeful that vaccine will continue to increase. But what we've been told that we can be guaranteed is that we will receive, based upon our population, an equivalent amount of vaccine. So in essence, what they're doing is looking at the total population, taking each county, dividing your population by the state population, and whatever percentage that equals, you receive that amount of vaccine weekly. So we're 1.5% of the total state population. So we can expect to receive 200 doses because you receive 100 doses per percentage point of the population, and they round up to the next 100 mark. So we'll receive at least 200 per week, and we'll be scheduling those out for the foreseeable future. And if we receive any more, we will schedule those as well.
Question.
Magistrate Logston.
Matt, do you see that have you seen the virus go through corrections? I'm trying to put this lightly. So, I don't want it to, have you seen it start to peak in corrections where it's already gone through the population and now it's going back down, or is it still working its way through the corrections?
Yeah, I can't say definitively if it's completely gone through corrections and everyone has been affected, but we are definitely seeing a downward trend in case counts. You might recall, I think it was 2 weeks ago or either the previous presentation, I said very definitively that the corrections cases were skewing our county incident rate. That's when we were up to 247. And I took a lot of heat from the community because I had given advice or guidance that we could return to school safely. And people thought that that was a bad decision. And ultimately it's bore out over time that it was not a bad decision because we knew that the data was being skewed by those correction cases. And as they've gone down, our community has gone down as well. And we're below 20 per 100,000 population. So we're really, ahead of a lot of our surrounding counties now with regard to incidence rate. But to your point, there have been a lot of cases in those correctional facilities. And obviously once they go through the disease, in most instances, people the assumption is that they have some immunity conferred.
Magistrate Hawkins.
Hi, Matt. Thank you for all you're doing. I might maybe jumping the gun with you here. In the Parks Committee meeting, we had conversations about the safety of putting up the basketball hoops and also the pool opening this summer. So looking forward to having those conversations with you, and hopefully we can get those basketball hoops up soon and open the pool so that we can continue to, let our kids stay healthy. But do you have any thoughts on the on that right now, or am I jumping the gun?
Now, I'll say this, if we continue to trend in this direction, I think that we can probably do that safely. I'm not going to give a definitive answer today to say that we can open up the basketball courts and open up the swim pools, because what we've seen is once we start a downward trend, our behavior changes and we see an uptick in cases. So, but I will say if we continue on this trend, it looks positive.
Okay, thanks.
Magistrate Hounds.
Thanks, Matt. Just give you a little bit of positive, hopefully positive feedback. Several people I know that have gone and gotten the vaccination at your facility, and they have all been very positive feedback in the friendliness of the staff and the smoothness of the operation. One lady called me and said she was real apprehensive about having to stay in her car, but she said it worked out real well and she was very pleased and she didn't know who to call. And I said, well, I'll give you Matt's personal cell phone. She said, oh, no, I don't want that. I said, I'm kidding, Matt. I wouldn't do that. But I told her to call the office and leave a message on the general line. I don't know if she did or not, but it does seem like that you guys are doing it the right way. There was a picture on Facebook last week, I think it was, of the wait at Broadbent Arena was 2.5 hours for scheduled appointments. So maybe you can call your compadres on the other side and tell them you got a plan for them.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. The positive feedback is important for our staff because trust me, we hear a lot of negative feedback.
I'm sure.
And to be able to get the positive feedback is reassuring and encouraging. And I will say this, everybody that has come through that I have had the chance to speak with or receive correspondence from, they were all very positive. The people that have been served are extremely satisfied. Those that have yet to be served are not so happy yet, but we're
Right.
going to get to them as quickly as we can. So thank you for that.
All right, anyone else? Magistrate Logson.
I have another question, Matt. Matt, did you see when the schools opened up, did you see any jump in cases because of the kids going back to school? I mean, I know everything's down now, so I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying at the 1st of January or February or 1st of January when they opened up, did you see that the kids being in school jumped the case loads at any at all?
Not necessarily. And that's one of the reasons that I felt comfortable that they could go back safely, because in the schools, they're actually providing environmental controls such as social distancing, wearing masks, and trying to prevent that. And what we were seeing anecdotally is that kids out of school were gathering without masks and without social distancing and having large parties and so forth. So the risk was probably greater being out of school than being in school.
All right, looks like that's our questions for this week. Matt, thank you for being with us. Appreciate it. Let us know if we can do anything to assist in spreading the word about vaccinations or whatever in the community. So
Thank you, Judge.
appreciate everything your staff is doing. I know I've been there. I know they're working hard and are very much appreciated.
I really appreciate that, Judge. And I did want to say one other thing. I had tried to put together a list so that I could send notifications out to you all, and I inadvertently left Magistrate Tice off. I think that I have corrected that issue now. So hopefully you all are receiving emails from me communicating so that you can share that with your constituents. So.
All right. Well,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I've asked, we're with all this snow, we've had last week, we had an interruption in our garbage collection service in the county. We're having another interruption this week. Fortunately, the interrupted days are not the same. So I assume last week's, what we didn't get last week and it's going to be double this week will be able to be gotten. But I asked Todd Prayer to come with us today from Republic Services. And give us an update on where we are on that collection. Todd, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Judge, so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Tony Johnson's also with us, Judge. He's on in the office there. Our decision not to run never comes easy, but it always comes with safety first in mind. We will never put the community or our drivers at risk, not even take a chance of doing so. The people that we missed last Wednesday and Thursday, we've told them that we will pick up extra trash, outside of the containers and garbage bags and stuff. So we will get them serviced. The plan is tomorrow to run. We do know that there will be some roads that will be unsafe to travel on, and that will be up to the driver's discretion. I wanted to share something real quick. We ran last Friday when, after roads have been plowed and everything. And you'll see, now remember, our drivers have an average tenure of 14 years of driving just with us. So it's not some rookie out there driving these roads. And I'm used to Teams. I'm not used to Zoom. So bear with me, please. Is that showing up by any chance?
Not yet.
Okay.
You click share screen, Todd?
Yes, I did. And I've got a assortment of files right here, and I've clicked on the photo to share, and it's not coming up. While it's coming up, by 9:30, I received a phone call from our operations manager on Friday. By 9:30, we had 4 trucks that were already stuck that we had to call record service for. We had another one that was veering around a box truck on a residential street, not on a main street, but on a residential street. And as he was,
There you go.
okay, so this is another one. This is, Tony, can you speak to this one? I don't know what really happened on this one.
Yeah, sure. So this driver was just servicing this customer's can here, and he pulls up, he dumps the cart, and as he starts to pull away, you can see he's barely on just the slightest grade upwards. His rear of the vehicle just starts to slide out, towards the mailbox. And this is just on a, wide open road. Just that little bit of snow, that little bit of ice right there is what kept him from getting any traction to be able to go forward. And essentially, it just started pulling his truck to the right to where he actually clipped that mailbox. We actually had the resident call and definitely defend him and say, he did nothing wrong. He pulled straight up and serviced the cart. And as he, started to pull off, the tail end just kind of swung out. So these are just, that's just some of the things that we're up against. A lot of people anticipate that the large trucks, will always have traction. It can just, drive on these roads very safely. But even, sometimes just the stop and go also creates issues on just the slightest grade or just the slightest bit of snow or any type of ice or something like that on the ground. So.
Yeah. So on this next slide here, you'll see the way he was traveling. He was going around the box truck there, and just the slightest grade caused him to slide to the left, and he took out that little yellow car there. So
your picture didn't change, Todd, or didn't?
Oh, didn't? I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop and then share again. Good there.
Yes, now it is.
So you'll see he was going around that box truck to maneuver around just on a regular residential road, and it caused him to slide to the left and unfortunately running into the side of that vehicle there. So a lot of people see these trucks, these big trucks, and they think that they're as capable as a snowplow, and it's just not the case. Once we start sliding, it's at the mercy of of our good Lord when it's going to stop.
Sometimes it can go. Kevin's got a picture. Maybe I don't know if you had this picture to show or not, but we read in the news. Kevin, you want to pull up over in Maryland? a few days ago. Garbage truck went off the road and there was a fatality or two involved in it. People, I think most of our population here is understanding certainly of this is a garbage truck that went over the edge. This edge is reminiscent to me of some of the places in Oldham County where the public is picking up trash. We have some flat surface, but we have a lot of roads that are challenging in good weather. And so we don't want anybody to be hurt, trying to do their job. And so this is terrible circumstance for that family in Maryland. And you're right. These trucks, I had another picture of a fire truck in San Antonio that tipped over yesterday on its side. You think it's got traction, they don't. So,
and it's not always the truck either. Sometimes it's the residents driving as well. Unfortunately, up in Cincinnati last week when they got that 10 inches. Unfortunately, there was a guy in his mid-40s that ran straight into the back of a rear load garbage truck and unfortunately passed away from it.
Tony and Todd, do your people have discretion if they come into a street they think is going to be a problem? Do they have the ability to decide at that point that they're just, they're going to have to skip that street?
Absolutely. Absolutely, they do. And we try to do our best too on the front side to get out there and drive some of the roads and see where we can and can't go if we want to just absolutely tell them to not go to this area. But they are the captain of the ship, as we say. And to Todd's point, we got guys with a lot of tenure and we trust their judgment out here. So they definitely have full autonomy to say, hey, it's not safe. And they know it better than we do, right? They're out there day in, day out, week in, week out. So yes, to answer your question.
I think Magistrate Logson has a question.
Todd, could you might explain to the public what your all's policy is? I know that, it's probably been about 2 weeks now and two to three big snow plows have come through and kind of pushed the snow up against the garbage containers. What's your all's policy as far as, does the public need to go out and clean that out around that garbage can, or what is your all's policy, just so that the public in general know?
Well, we really don't have a policy on that, Magistrate. If somebody wants to get out there and help us out, we'll take all the help we can get. But those grippers, and unless, it's pretty much going to yank it out of that pile, unless it's pretty much 3/4 of the way covered up.
Yeah, if it's just around the bottom there, it shouldn't be a problem to get them out of there. Now, if and I'm here in Oldham County as well. I haven't seen any that are out where they're like, 50% or 3/4 of the way up the can. That something like that could be an issue. But for the most part, we should be able to still.
I've just noticed that my garbage can's been sitting out there. I moved it once and it was frozen to the ground because of the ice had the rain had pushed it over and then it just kind of like froze there. So I just didn't know if y'all had a policy on cleaning that out or not.
Yeah, to Todd's point, yeah, no real policy. We don't encounter it a whole lot, right? But any help we can get, to Todd's point, would be great. If they'll loosen them up for us a little bit, that'd be awesome if we can get that.
Magistrate Hawkins.
So if there's snow again and ice this Thursday and we didn't get, you know where I'm going with that, Todd. Then now what? Now what do I tell people?
So the plan is, and I'm sorry, Todd, I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead. I'll let you.
The plan is to make sure that we do everything we can to get Wednesday and Thursday's folk service. So if Thursday presents another storm, as we are anxiously watching to see what happens tomorrow night leading into Thursday, then we will come back in on Friday and go directly to those Thursday routes. That will be the plan, is to make sure we do exhaust every effort we have this week to make sure we at least get the Wednesday and Thursday folks some service this week. At that point, they will not be going 2 weeks without any service. And then we'll, circle back and if we have to, Friday's folks next week, we'll clean up everything they got. We're back into the 40s next week. And so we'll resume regular service next week and grab everything we can at the curb. But it's going to be exhausting every effort we have to make sure we get on what streets that we can get to Wednesday and Thursday's service picked up.
And to touch on that, as Tony said, we've been going out, mostly the supervisors, but Tony's been out too, spot checking some places. If there's some roads that we can't get, but we know, like, a Wednesday route or Thursday route is close by, and we know that road is clear, our driver, if he has time, might swing over there and grab what he can, because we know most people have just left their containers out. So,
And we did some of that last Saturday as well.
yeah.
You went
All right.
back from last Thursday on Saturday and picked up some cans?
Mhm.
Whatever we saw out. Yeah.
Whatever they saw out as they were kind of wrapping up on Saturday and coming in, we were still hitting some of the neighborhoods and stuff as we were finishing up on Saturday.
All right, so leave your cans out. If you don't get picked up, you might get lucky.
There you go.
Please.
Anybody else? All right, guys, thank you for joining us and bringing this up. And we appreciate your good service and wish you continued luck out there.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
the
so
invite.
much.
Thank you, everybody.
And I did speak with Ben Kimbler, our road director, right before today's meeting. And Ben feels that most of the Oldham County roads are in really good shape right now. So we'll be, having fiscal court open again tomorrow. And then we'll see what happens on Wednesday night and have to make a decision about Thursday and the rest of the week as we go forward. Now, the next thing I'd like to bring up here is I don't think there's anybody that's come on for public comment, has there?
I don't have any notes.
No, pardon? No one in the, okay. So we'll close our public comment and go on. I've asked Kevin to come forward and give us an update on where we stand, where we are on our broadband development program. We've had our survey, but and that's pretty well completed now. But Kevin, go ahead and review with the court of where we are at this point.
Okay, I appreciate the opportunity to do that. Before I tell you where we're at now, I'd like to go back and just give a real quick recap of how we got to where we're at today. Fiscal Court approved a memorandum of understanding with the Kentucky Finance Cabinet back in August of 2018. That's almost 2.5 years ago, to purchase 244 strands of fiber overbuild from the Kentucky Wired project. The amount of that agreement was for approximately $341,000. The route of the fiber begins at US 42 at the county line, runs west to Kentucky 53 on 42, then south on 53 down to Kentucky 146, and then west on Kentucky 146 to Louisville Metro. Even though that MOU I just talked about was approved in 2018, due to delays with the Kentucky Wired project, we were unable to take final acceptance of the testing and fiber and pay the final invoice until June 29th of 2020 at that fiscal court meeting. So in February of 2020, in an effort to keep this project moving on, we issued a request for qualifications for a consultant to help us determine the best way to deploy the fiber throughout the county. Three firms responded to our RFQ and were interviewed. And at the May 19th, 2020 fiscal court meeting, a contract for consulting services with Lit Communities was approved. Due to COVID-19 hitting, Lit has been able to conduct a site visit in Oldham County, but we've had numerous regularly scheduled Zoom meetings to keep the project moving forward. Magistrate Chris Hounds and Rich Hollander, president of Transitional Technologies, have also participated in these virtual meetings along with Judge and I. So in September, the judge alluded to, we've got our survey completed. In September of 2020, we released an online survey. To date, we had 3,360 responses to that survey. Some of the preliminary results of that survey found that approximately 87% of the respondents reported they would sign up for a service if we were to offer it. Again, 87% of the respondents said that they would sign up for our service if we're able to offer it. This is more than a positive, this is a very positive, above average amount of people according to our consultant. 13% of the respondents have no home internet. This is over double the 6% average according to the FCC. So 13% of people in Oldham County tell us that they do not have internet at this time at their home. 38% of the respondents aren't reaching the FCC definition of broadband, which is 25 meg up and 3 meg down. So 25.3 is the FCC standard, and 38% of the county tell us that they don't have internet that meets that FCC standard. 46%, so almost half of the survey respondents, are dissatisfied with their current internet speed. 66%, which is almost 2/3 of the population that responded to the survey, are dissatisfied with the price that they are paying for internet services today. So our survey, we're still going through some final results with it, but there's some pretty glaring results there that came out that about the availability, pricing, and reliability of broadband as it stands today in Oldham County. Part of the RFQ that we put out for our consultants was for them to do a community assessment, which included a business plan and a financial model for a middle mile and last mile fiber. The middle mile is what I just described as the overbuild that we bought from that we bought from Kentucky Wired. The fiber to the premises is more known as the last mile or fiber to the home. So we have to take that middle mile fiber and somehow get that connected to as many residences and businesses in Oldham County as we possibly can. So LIT did a preliminary design and a financial model for the middle mile that offers us several opportunities. A middle mile build allows for the last mile provider to bring internet services to the residents with less capital expenditure. That means creating a more competitive environment. What we're talking about there is potentially the county. And again, this is potentially, there's nothing in stone about anything that we've talked about with the with our consultants yet, but the county potentially investing in the middle mile and building that network so that we can bring in a partner to the to help us with the fiber to the home or the last mile. Creating a middle mile is very advantageous because it would provide redundancy to the network. So we wouldn't have to worry about necessarily a storm knocking out part of the fiber because it would have a redundant hookup that would serve in case of that outage. We would also be able to connect approximately 53 anchor institutions throughout the county. Anchor institutions include government buildings, potentially schools, businesses, other nonprofits in the county, humane society. There's all kinds of different potentials that we could use for anchor institutions to provide them service, as well as to help provide a host and a leg for the final fiber to the mile. In building these 3 rings that we're talking about for the middle mile, these are very preliminary estimated costs, but the engineering would be just under $1 million for all 3 rings. It would be about $950,000. And construction of all 3 rings would be just about, preliminarily speaking, about $8.5 million to get that done. So right now we would have about $1 million for engineering and about $8.5 million for construction of the ring. And at that point, the fiber to the home partner would be ready to take fiber and take it out to the residences. Revenue can come from several different sources from these middle rings. We as a county could do this, or we could hire a provider to do this. We could lease fiber to the premise partner that we're talking about, taking fiber to the home. So that could be a lease, that could be revenue for the county. We could also provide limited access to business services, and that could also potentially include our Oldham Reserve partners. We know that we're trying to build out the park, and having a robust internet broadband service over there would be a huge asset to be able to attract companies coming in. And then leasing dark fiber to private and public entities. We've got 244 strands of fiber, so we will have more than enough where we could provide fiber to other entities if they wanted to use it, not to necessarily to connect fiber to a home, but if they wanted to use it as a transfer portal to go somewhere else, we could lease them that dark fiber. So what are the next steps? In our last conversation with the LIT community, we talked about releasing an engineering RFQ for all 3 middle mile rings. By doing this all at once, this will enable construction and material vendors to give accurate costs and metrics. So we have an estimated cost, but until we release the RFQ and actually talk to some engineering firms, we don't know what the exact cost would be. And we can get that more fine tuned if we have once we put the RFQ out. We're also talking about creating an RFI or a request for information and start the creation of a fiber to the home partner that would build the last mile services from the middle mile out to the final mile or to the residences. So we want to get on those 2 things as quickly as possible. We want to start out potentially by building ring 1 and at least getting engineering costs on that and see where we're at as far as engineering goes and getting that ring completed and using that as kind of our test ring. And instead of trying to do all 3 rings at the same time, we're going to take this in phases and try to get out ring 1 first. And then ultimately we would select a fiber to the home partner and they would coordinate in parallel to work on the deployment of the fiber to the home. And lastly, our next step is we need to have better communication with the public. As you can tell by my brief description here, we've been very busy with our partner, but we've not been real good about getting information out to the public. A lot of the things we're dealing with right now are still very technical and still early in the process, but not getting information makes people wonder what's happening. We put this survey out in September, but we've not talked about results a whole lot. So Lid Communities is working with us to build a platform for us to be able to provide more ongoing communication to the public so that they know that we are still working on this, that we know this still is a major project, that it's a priority for the county. When we put this RFQ out for last year and we started buying these, the extra fiber, we had no idea COVID was coming, but all the people working from home, all the NTI for the schools, it just reinforced our need to know that we need to get this information out. We need to get fiber to the home and we need to get broadband expanded in Oldham County and have a reliable service for everyone. That's kind of my presentation. So I'll let the judge or Chris clean up any mess that I may have made.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. Right. I think as everybody's gathered here, this is a much more complicated subject than what, we might just say, but we want to get broadband out to everybody. It's, if you compared it to a foot-long ruler, it's just a ruler, but there's a mark every 1/16 of an inch. We're crawling over these 1/16 of an inch, a little bit at a time, but it's very, without a definite budget to set up where we're going to go in and just unload money on this problem to solve it. We've had to be careful and pick and choose what we do. You did notice that at the last meeting or two, maybe it was 2 back, the person from Spectrum was here. Well, they bought some space from the FCC to do something. And we've also found out subsequently that SpaceX, the satellite company, has targeted some places in Oldham County. And just this last week, I saw on Facebook a confirmed subscription that said confirmed your subscription to SpaceX. So somebody up on 42 is going to try to get linked up with that when it works, and they're expecting it fairly soon. Nevertheless, satellite service has not been as good or as consistent or dependable as the fiber optic cable, so we're moving ahead with that. But there's competition in this field, and we initially used the term open access. We've kind of had to pull back a little bit on that term because open access would mean that the county would have to almost wire every home in the county itself in order not to have a third-party provider or a fourth-party provider involved. And we're thinking the cost of that would be astronomical for us to do all that as an individual entity, although we have had some finance opportunities buzzing around. People want to help us, want to take the job, make us a loan, things like that. And we've held those back at this point. We were approached by Macquarie Capital, the same group that financed Kentucky Wired, is out there trying to sell counties their services on setting up connections to each home with broadband. And we did, listen to their presentation, but they've sort of disappeared over the last 60 days since they made that presentation. And right now, the Lit Communities Group is helping us put together a request for qualifications for an engineering firms to tell us what they can do to build up out the middle miles based on 3 rings, as Kevin mentioned. Those rings would build off our Kentucky Wired access that we bought along 146 and 42, build that out even further. So we're at this point, our rough thinking is that the county should own the middle mile connections and then have a lease agreement with others who might extend that further out the final mile to the home. So we don't want to necessarily get in a position where, a similar contract we have with Spectrum, that once we issued the contract, I think we pretty much feel like we've lost total control of what's going on. They're doing what they want to do and telling us about it later. If we hang on to the middle mile and let people connect to that, we feel we're going to be in the decision-making process by owning a key part of that system. I'm going to ask Magistrate Hounds if he'd like to comment and maybe add something Kevin and I haven't at this point.
Thanks, Judge. First off, I want to tell the rest of the court that we did a very, very good job in picking Lit Communities. I've been very impressed with what they have been able to do for us. I'm not picking on the judge when I say this, but Judge, I think you'd probably agree. Your level of broadband understanding was here, and now it's probably up here, and we both still have a long way to go. But I applaud you for embracing this, because I think it's some of those meetings that we have been in have been difficult to understand some of the logistic pieces that that are happening. One of the comments, or to kind of add to what the judge was saying about the middle mile. Once we create the middle mile, then, like the judge was saying, we'll get a partner to take care of the final mile, which will get internet to the home. I asked the question of the Lit Communities folks maybe 2 or 3 meetings ago. I said, if we were to pull the trigger on this today, what do you think realistically would be the time frame that we would have the majority of the people that wanted internet hooked up to fiber? And they said probably 30 to 36 months. And the reason being is that running the middle mile is probably the easier process, but the final mile, you're gonna run the internet. Basically, the rings are using the courthouse as your center point, up 146, down 53, down 42, and then come up 393. That's essentially ring 1. And then ring 2 would be 393 and 146, 393, I'm sorry, and 42, down to 42 to 329, and then back up 146 from 393. And then the last ring would be 22, and get the whole, that whole other side, kind of an oblong ring. But once the rings are complete, it doesn't mean that their internet would be automatically turned on to the resident. There would be some, I think, Lit Communities is embrace the fact that we would probably have to have some wireless solutions temporarily, or maybe longer term, because of there's some areas in Oldham County that it just doesn't make sense to put fiber to at this particular time because of density. But we do think that we could provide a service of 5G or better, or 5G to currently, and then as the technology got better, we could do others. But understand that the wireless solution still has to come back and connect to fiber. So, you know, hypothetically, we could put up a tower shooting into Madison Harrison's area where there's little or no broadband, but that tower still has to come back and connect to our fiber or to a piece of fiber in order for that signal to work at the speed. One of the comments that we're getting is about pricing. And I think that some people that took the survey, and this goes back to what the deputy judge was saying about getting the information out, people are saying, well, I'm already paying for internet at that price, or I'm paying for internet at a lesser cost. Well, I think, well, I know what we did was we have to put out a cost estimate, but we really don't know what the cost is of the service until we get a little bit further down the road. What we didn't want to do is put in a cost of service, say, of $49.99, I'm making up a number, and then it comes in at $69.99. Well, that's not going to make people real happy. So I think we erred on the side of caution and put the MRC, the monthly recurring charge, at a higher rate in hopes that we can bring that down. I think that too, this is a huge adventure, and I'm going to use the $10 million number because I think that that's right about where we're going to be. Hopefully it's going to be less, but to build these rings out, it's going to be about $10 million. And just to let you know, if we were cost estimates, if the county were to take the whole project on, I think we're in the neighborhood of about $34 to $35 million. So that would be internet all the way to the home and creating an open source network like the judge spoke of. Don't think that that's realistic. I think that as the judge and deputy judge have both alluded to, us building out the middle mile makes the most sense. It will also allow us to connect the county services together, and it will also allow us to provide some efficiencies and some redundancies. We had an internet issue, if you guys remember, ladies remember, last week. And as I told one of the magistrates, I can't remember who it was, us owning this fiber may not eliminate that issue that we had. We may still have email and phones that go down, because that problem, and Ms. Horn can speak to this, I believe it was in Lexington was where the problem was. Wasn't on our network per se, it was on our vendor's network. We would still have to buy internet wholesale. So once we turn this fiber on, if you don't know, you don't turn the fiber on and immediately you can jump on the internet. We'd have to buy wholesale internet for some of our services. Not a big deal, but we pay for Spectrum accounts for a few of the county's buildings. We could eliminate that. We could add some other services potentially by owning the fiber. We could add some the revenue piece. I think it's huge. I don't think it's a huge amount of revenue, but I think that the $10 million, we could use revenue from selling the fiber, access to the fiber, to help bring in money to offset the cost of however we decide to pay for that $10 million figure. And then we could use that money for potentially for other things after the $10 million is paid off. But I can tell you from the real estate side, you can ask Magistrate Logston this, probably one of my number one questions that I get right now is there high-speed internet to this house? And what kind of high-speed internet is it? Is it Spectrum? Is it AT&T? What is it? And people are very much attuned to that. I mean, I think that, as the deputy judge has said, COVID has really raised the bar in needing high-speed internet for the county. And the payback we're probably not going to see for a number of years, but it will be there, because this is probably as important to some people as getting gas and electric to the home.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Does, I won't belabor this, anybody have any questions or anything that they want to ask about where we are in this? I should die.
There we go. Chris, just want to make sure that, whoever hears these things we're talking about, we're talking about getting the internet to your home. No one's ever mentioned the word cable television. This is not cable television, correct?
No, sir, this would just be internet service to the home. And with that,
Okay.
you could stream. I mean, I know there's a couple of us that do. I'm using Hulu and Apple TV and Netflix. I mean, you can get great television over the internet right now at a reasonable cost.
Maybe that could be part of your revenue stream, since those people are looking for subscribers. You're going to offer a big plate here of people. Second thing is, who decides which ring gets done first?
Well, and this is strictly my opinion, I think that it makes the most sense to do ring 1 first. Because
it's the number 1, or that's the one you just chose it to be?
No, we didn't put the numbers on them. Lit Communities put the numbers on the rings. And I think that ring 1 probably catches the most underserved or no served group of people in the beginning. Selfishly, I will tell you that I think ring 3 should be next, because that is District 5. And I've got some people that are jumping up and down about internet, but I don't think that the numbers are wrong. Ring 1, ring 2, and ring 3. And I can share the map, or the deputy judge can share the map with what exactly the area those are. But I think that part of what we've got to do is we've got to, it's kind of like Matt Rhodes when he's doing the COVID vaccine. We're going to be building this plane one part at a time, because some of the stuff that we're doing, the judge has asked, well, who else is doing this? I mean, he said that a number of times, and they give us a few people, but we're really, I don't know if cutting edge is the way to say it or not, but I mean, Judge, don't you agree? I mean, and Kevin, we've kind of struggled with trying to get people to examine, try and do wants to do what we're, I don't think that they're willing to do what we're trying to do. Is that accurate, you think?
We're trying to learn this, and actually we're trying to develop a job description for a broadband manager, for lack of a better term right now. I think we feel that we need somebody who is more well-versed in the entire field to be able to be our point person on the implementation of things in the county. One thing we don't want to do is get in the business of having trucks with our name running around, stringing wire and providing service to homes. We don't want to get into that business, but we need, all of us that were dealing with this have learned more than we knew when we began, but we didn't know how much we didn't know also when we began. and we found some out, but we're not still not overly articulate about it or incisive enough to be able to recognize and give clear guidance. We're dependent on professional advice to make this thing go forward, and we're I don't know, having trust in our professional advice to this point. But just like a lawyer, several lawyers can give advice, and one might have a little sharper advice than another, but you're not sure which one's the sharpest because you're not a lawyer yourself, or trained in the field. So our people are good. Stan Clark has helped us a lot with the analysis and looking at what other communities have done, and you can't, every place is a little bit different. Our topography is different here. Our needs are a little bit different. We don't have a major central city surrounded by farms like a lot of communities do. We have kind of a population spread across the entire county. Some areas are easy to reach for this type of service, and others are strictly uphill. And of course, the people that don't have service are the ones that want it, but it's getting it out to them is an expensive proposition. And we're going to probably have to wind up providing, if we can, and we're going to have competition in this. People being people, when you come out with what your price is for your service, they're going to, AT&T and Spectrum are going to drop their price and try to, cut our legs out from under us if they can. But
Well,
so-
Judge, you're right about the competition piece, but let me give you guys a little bit of information that fiber is not the same as cable internet. So most of us are on a cable internet provider and we heard from the gentleman last time, they're running fiber so far, and then it's copper line from a node, from a point to your home. If one of the things that we're going to have to do is get people to understand, you may not need the super fastest fiber, because inherently fiber is going to be faster than copper to your home is today. One of the issues that we're seeing is Kevin alluded to this. I think what was it, Kevin? You said they said high speed is 25 and 3.
FCC that's considered basic broadband.
Okay, so the problem that some of us are experiencing right now, and as we're on this call, I've had it happen a couple of times as internet's unstable. We've got to get the upload speed faster. The download speed in some cases is plenty fast for most of us. It's the upload speed. As I'm speaking, I'm uploading my voice and my video up to this call. So we have to get the number right, the speed right, but I think that we're going to provide competition that's going to force the other vendors, like the judge said, that they're going to have to cut their services. And we know the take rate is not going to be 100%. I mean, we're very much well aware of that. But the more people that we can get on the service, the more revenue that we can generate, the easier it's going to be to spread this web out and catch everybody, give them broadband. Magistrate Dahl, you made a comment about us offering the streaming services. We don't want to get into any of that business. The judge and Kevin and I talked about, at the end of the day, we want to provide the middle mile, and we want to receive revenue for the middle mile rental. Let's just call it that. We know we're going to have to pay a portion of that rental fee to a service, to a vendor, to manage the network or to fix the lines, because we have a contract with Kentucky Wired, $25,000 if memory serves, Kevin, in maintenance fee for our part of Kentucky Wired. Well, we're going to triple, if not more, those other three pieces. So we're going to have to be paying somebody to maintain that cabling, that force. So there's going to be an opportunity for us to receive some revenue, pay down the debt, but then we're going to have to pay a maintenance fee, or we're going to have to pay I don't want to call it a consultant, but a vendor to manage that services for us. We don't have the expertise in the county. And I've done a little bit of research, and there are seem like some great companies out there that would love that business.
And my last question.
There's several. Go ahead.
My last
ahead,
question, this is to Kevin. You mentioned the engineering cost, they're going to get some engineering cost on the Ring 1. How explicit is that engineering going to be? Is it going to be sort of kind of this what it might cost, or are we going to actually get into, I might not be using the right words, blueprint type stuff?
We would get to a design build phase. Once we get the RFQ for the engineering, we would actually contract with that engineering firm to get out and get us a build design, just like we do with animal control or anything else. So they will give us a very good cost estimate based on the time and materials.
It's a cost estimate. It wouldn't actually be a written out design on a piece of paper or on a CAD or something.
Well, they'll put together a design. It's just that you can't get your final cost till you have your contractors bid on it.
Yeah,
you get a rough idea. Same thing we got in Oldham.
Right. I understand that, but so they're actually going to have a bid ready document.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
that's our plan, to have a bid ready document to send out to contractors that will physically run the fiber.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Question.
Keep in mind that we're the first county in the state to do a countywide deployment of this. There's several cities, Richmond, Bowling Green, several cities have done this, but we're the first county in the state. So we are kind of building the plane as we fly it. So we don't know, we don't have all the answers, but I think we're getting a lot of phone calls from other county judges. Judge can attest to that, saying, "Hey, what are y'all doing? We're hearing things about this, and we're liking what we're hearing." So we're setting the flight plan for this.
All right, in essence, a city doesn't go to small county if you look at it the way it's laid out.
It's
I
more,
mean,
it's more densely populated.
It's more
though.
densely
We're-
populated.
yeah, right. That's the only difference really. So I mean,
That's a big difference.
the nuts and bolts are going to be pretty much the same. All right, thank you.
Magistrate Logston.
Yes, sir. How many rooftops do we have in Oldham County, not counting apartments?
I think we're about 25,000 roughly.
Okay, and do you know how many of those are not served right now?
Well, what would we come up with? About 7%, aren't we? Didn't we, Kevin?
Of the respondents, but again,
Other respondents.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hard number, Magistrate Logston, to come up with, because some of the areas we got really good response and some of the areas that we didn't.
I'm just trying to use soft numbers here. I'm just trying to figure out how much a county could make potentially in a year's time off of it. So,
Well, that number is going to go like this, because when we talked to,
you're probably going to have 3 companies bidding against you. So I understand that. I was just trying to figure out how to recoup some of the money. So,
Well, we have to keep in mind that our goal, and when we got into this, and I assume this is still our goal was not to get in the broadband business to make money. Our goal was to get this communication tool out to as many possible people in our community as we could. And that's our goal that I feel I can support versus, they have our consultant has dangled out in front of us opportunities that, well, you might reap this cash flow or have this or that. We're really, we don't want to, let's say, lose money frivolously, but our goal is to get it out so that the people in our community have this service. And not, our own bottom line here has to be is important in the sense that we don't want to lose any more. We have to doing this. But on the other hand, I think we need to be prepared to make the sacrifice in our budget and not look at it as a profit center, but as a service that we're trying to provide, just like all our other services.
yeah, there's going to be areas of the county that it's going to be difficult. We talked about this at the last meeting. You may only have one vendor. We may run the middle mile, and then, ABC Internet is they're going to pick up the middle mile and do the final mile to some of these more remote areas of Oldham County. And there may not be another service to those, but we've accomplished our goal. We've gotten that underserved or no served person high-speed internet. There's some areas, kind of like what we were talking about just a few minutes ago, your more densely populated neighborhoods, there's going to be competition in those neighborhoods because, you can make more money in the densely populated area. But, I made the comment about this kind of like LG&E. LG&E will run electricity to you wherever you want, as long as you can pay the bill. And I think that's what's going to happen with some of these internet service providers. Some of them are going to come out and the cost to the home may be a little expensive, but at least you're going to get it.
All right. Any other comments or
I
questions?
just want to recoup our money we put into it so far.
Well, appreciate that, but it's going to be tough, Magistrate, because it's just like recuperating the money you put in the police department. You aren't going to get it, get it done, or any other service, or planning and zoning, or anything we provide. It's going to either we're going to get it out to people, or if we let the market get it out to people, they're just going to skim the cream until, and we've stepped in to try to pick up the parts that, and if we could pick up some good parts along the way, that'll be great. But we stepped into this to get it out to the people of the community, and it's going to help our real estate values, like Magistrate Hound said, and I'm sure you're asked all the time too, I don't want to buy a house that doesn't have a good internet connection. You know, it certainly lowers the value of the house, maybe wrecks the whole deal for certain individuals. So, Magistrate Tice, did you have something?
Yes, I just want to say thank you, Judge, for bringing us up to date on this. I'm glad you guys have taken it and are working on it. I think it's vital important to the community, and the community means our county. So thanks for doing it, and keep us posted as we go. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, thank you. Happy to go on to the next item on our agenda. That's the bills to be paid.
Make a motion, we pay the bills.
Second,
All right. Any discussion here? Saying none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the second reading of our Oldham County Comprehensive Plan adoption. And I believe Thomas McIntyre and Jim Urban are here to lead the court through that discussion. Go
Perfect.
ahead.
Thank you, Judge. At this point, I'll begin a screen share. All right. Can everyone see it this well?
yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. So as Judge stated, this is the second reading of the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan update.
And I might, before you go any further, I might add that this is going to be a public hearing. If anyone has come on to comment on anything about this for or against the discussion here before the vote, we will listen to any public comments. So, okay, Thomas, go ahead.
Thank you. So the comprehensive plan was last adopted in January 2014 with the adoption of the goals and objectives in the future land use map. On November 24th of 2020, the Oldham County Planning Commission recommended that the comprehensive plan update be moved forward for legislative body review. KRS Chapter 100 dictates what the contents are of a comprehensive plan. The contents of our plan are a statement of goals and objectives, land use plan element, transportation plan element, community facilities plan element, along with additional elements that include but are not limited to community renewal, housing, flood control, pollution, conservation, natural resources, regional impact, historic preservation, and other elements as we deem necessary. So what we have in our comprehensive plan are meet the minimum and we exceed the minimum. So again, we have the goals and objectives. We have a land use element, transportation element, in community facilities and services element, along with our environment, the government element, and the business and industry element. So here we have the projection from 1940 all the way to 2010. Now, again, this is these are just numbers or the population that was projected for every 10 years. Now, the point of the comp plan is to make sure we look 20 years ahead and to make sure that we are able to keep the same service or level of service for our citizens moving forward. So here you can see in 2000, we were projected to have 24,500 people for the Oldham County population projection from 1970. Here you have the projection versus reality. Again, the red line is the projection. What happened in reality is the blue. So in 1969, the Joint Planning Commission was established. In 1975, Jefferson County mandatory busing began, and that's where we saw this quite substantial jump in population. So then how do we handle that? Well, we look at what are we going to do moving forward to make sure that we're able to service all the citizens. Again, here's a straight line projection from 2010 all the way up to 2050. So if we have this continued upward trend of population throughout the years, how are we able to make sure that we provide the same quality of life that Oldham County citizens expect and deserve? So one of those ways that we make sure that happens is through the Oldham County capacity standards. KRS Chapter 100 Point 201 states that land use and zoning regulations may also be employed to protect airports, highways, and other transportation facilities, public facilities, schools, public grounds, historical districts, central business districts, prime agricultural land, and other natural resources. So the capacity standards that we employ today are road capacity, school capacity, fire protection, wastewater treatment facility, and postal capacity.
Hey, Tom, can I ask you to go back a couple slides to the
Sure.
reality versus one more? The blue line, those dots at 46,000 around the year 2000, that's actually when we started doing capacity planning in the comprehensive plan. When we had 46,000 people, in 2010, we had a population of about 60,000 people. And so what Tom is really getting at is with these population projections, how are we going to accommodate and not make sure that we don't run into the same situation where our infrastructure was overrun before the year 2000 when we started capacity planning. So Tom, I just wanted to interject that. That's why we're going over these population projections.
Not a problem. Thank you, Jim. Are there any questions about that portion? Nope. Okay. So what methods were used to update the comprehensive plan? We had met with many different agencies of county government, departments of county government, with the first set of focus groups being focus group 1, which included the post office, the health department, the library, and the Tri-County Community Action Agency. Focus group 2 dealt with parks and recreation. So we met with YMCA, Greenways for Oldham County, Oldham County Parks, and LaGrange City Parks. Focus group 3 was the Board of Education. So we met with Greg Schultz, Tim Paff, Michael Williams, Jeffrey Webb, and Brett Bohannon. Focus group 4 was emergency services. So we met with anybody from Oldham County Police to the Sheriff's Office, emergency management, all the fire chiefs from any of the fire districts, whether it's North Oldham, South Oldham, Pee Wee, Westport, Worthington, LaGrange, any type of emergency medical service or anything of that nature, we met with them. Again, we have focus group 5 and 6 are both infrastructure, but there's so many, we decided to break it down into 2. So with one being transportation infrastructure and then the second being utility infrastructure. So we met with Oldham County Road Department, our engineer, our Oldham County engineer, Jim Silliman, our long range planner, Belinda Demas, KYTC District 5. We met with TARC and LaGrange Public Works. And then for the utility focus group, we met with MSD, LaGrange Utilities Commission, Louisville Water Company, OSEA, and again, our county engineer. For number 7, we met with an environmental focus group. So we had anybody from the environmental department or division of the health department, the conservation district, the cooperative extension office, stormwater management, soil and water conservation district, the Curry Fork watershed, solid waste, natural resources conservation district. And lastly, focus group 8 dealt with economic development, which we met with the Oldham County Economic Development Department, the LaGrange Main Street Program, and the Oldham County Tourism Bureau. Again, we had public meetings. These meetings were on September 17th, 18th, and September 26th of 2019. We spread these out throughout the county to make sure that anybody, whether you have a family and you only have a half hour that might have free at night, we tried to make sure that we were able to service everybody. So the locations were North Oldham High School. We also met in the LaGrange Fire Department and the South Oldham Fire Department. So again, we had Crestwood, LaGrange, and Goshen area. So I just tried to spread out, and we wanted to be able to provide the best opportunity to get feedback from the community. So again, how did we break down the future land use map and make sure that each magistrate was able to see the future land use map and the changes in their district? Again, on the left side, you have the magistrate map. On the right side, you have the future land use map with the magistrate districts overlaid on it. Again, as mentioned in the first reading, we had delivered cut out maps showing the overlay of each district on top of the future land use map back in 2019. And we have spoken with magistrates throughout this entire process, from day one all the way through, and it's been about almost 2 years. In April it'll be. And it would have been a little bit quicker, but obviously with COVID, it adds a little bit of a bump to everything. So what changes, updates have been made to the comprehensive plan? We have done a update to the environmental portion. So this was really the biggest one, and everything else would just kind of stayed the same as far as cannot think of the right word. The plan elements. So again, environment was the one that we had the biggest changes to. Environmental update includes goal 1 will be water quality. So we had a watershed-based approach and added information about the MS4 program. Goal number 2 would be air quality, and we added information about the air pollution control district. 3 will be land preservation. We added language that spoke about regulating the adverse impacts of noise, pollutants, dust, odor, and smoke by establishing standards. 4 would be light distribution, where we utilize unobtrusive lighting techniques. And goal 5 would be the Ohio River, and to develop an Ohio River corridor master plan. As most of you all know, we have introduced not a new section of the future land use map, but rather we have taken out the PUD language and just simply put in the mixed use future land use district instead. So it's just really a cosmetic change or a language change. They're not changing. Again, this is not a zoning designation. This is just a future land use map designation. And how we've switched over from PUD to mixed use. Again, these 5 sections or areas are where the changes will occur. Up here, we have Oldham. This is the Buckner Crossing. This is the Roederer Farm and Morgan Family Farm off exit 17. Here we have the Clore Family Development. And here's the Norton Commons Hamlet Development in Oldham County. For mixed use, this district is generally of a higher intensity while allowing for easy pedestrian access and emergency services. Again, we're reclassifying from PUD to mixed use, future land use. For the plan elements, we've updated demographic information. So this is really just basic stuff from U of L. Cannot remember the name of it. But it's we get a lot of this information from the Census Bureau. But the updated demographic information includes information for Oldham County, the top 5 Kentucky counties, incorporated cities, median age, racial origin, and housing statistics and characteristics. On the right side, you can see where we have updated numbers for residents of Oldham County that are traveling to other counties, residents of other counties traveling into Oldham County for work, and so on and so forth. We have revised the Oldham County tourism information. We have added information for the LaGrange Main Street program. And then what I'm most excited about for the comprehensive plan is the information for development throughout the county from exits 14 through exit 22. The changes to the environmental portion. Another really cool part that we have added that was not in the old update is the watershed information. So you can see up top, you have the drainage in acres, and then you have the map symbols on the left. Down here, you can see where all the different watersheds are within the county and the ones that go north of the county line to east of the county line, all the way down into Jefferson County. Again, we have updated the fire districts map, so you can see Fire District A, B, and C for North Oldham. You can see where LaGrange Fire, you can see Westport, Worthington, Pee Wee Valley, and South Oldham and Ballardsville. We've also updated law enforcement numbers. We've updated the information regarding libraries. We've updated the City of LaGrange Parks and Oldham County Parks information as well. For community facilities, this is the Osea Sewer Service Area. You can see where all the different stations are and where the service areas occur. Again, we have also added information about the design capacity and the treatment plants, design capacity information, we've added stormwater information, so MS, or more information from the MS4 program, and KPDES permits, along with information for the solid waste. One of my more favorite graphics in the comp plan that deals with the transportation. So you can see on the left side, you have, this shows information for the KYTC projects in Oldham County. It's for the 6-year plan, so the 2018 through 2024. KYTC has 16 projects. So on the right, you can see all of these red lines. These red lines represent the different projects within the county. Now these white, I guess like excerpts or blurps, deal with, these are essentially like social security numbers for these projects. Each one of these projects has a number that's specifically associated with them. And then when you pull up the comprehensive plan, you can see that you can pull up this number and it'll show you exactly what the cost is, the length of it, what year it's budgeted for, so on and so forth. So I think it's a very comprehensive graphic and should work out pretty well for us. So what are the benefits of a future land use map? That provides the options for the owners without stripping them of existing property rights, gives the community a general idea of what to expect, and most importantly, makes decisions less arbitrary. So our timeline is we started in April 2019. Again, we had 8 meetings totaling in 45 plus agencies of government and departments of county government. We had the goals and objectives update, the future land use map update. Then that moved forward to study review committee. And then we had for the, I believe it was 8 to 9 different study review committee meetings. But one meeting we had magistrate districts 1 through 4. Then we had another meeting with districts 5 through 8, followed by the goals and objectives, and then followed by plan elements, which we broke down into 2 different meetings because I mean, it's a couple 100-page document. So we wanted to take it little bits and pieces off at each time, so we're not looking over and missing certain things. Then we moved forward to Planning Commission in November 24th of last year. And then the Planning Commission recommended that we move forward to legislative body review. And here we are at Fiscal Court on the 2nd reading and public hearing for the comprehensive plan. And staff's intent is to have this be completed in 2021. And I mean, if there's any questions at this point, I'd be more than happy to answer anything.
Well, Tom, I want to just add for the benefit of everybody listening, what the comprehensive plan is. Straight from KRS 100, it says, the Planning Commission of each unit shall prepare a comprehensive plan which shall serve as a guide for public and private actions and decisions to assure the development of public and private property in the most appropriate relationships. The elements of the plan may be expressed in words, graphics, or other appropriate forms, and they shall be interrelated, and each element shall describe how it relates to each of the other elements. When Tom mentioned about meeting with the focus groups, updating the population projections, all of this are required in order for us to do a comprehensive plan. But the comprehensive plan, though, is not, it's a guidebook for the next 20 years, but it is not the details. That's in the zoning ordinance. So I wanted to make sure that everybody understood what the comprehensive plan was. It's a broad look at our future. And ours was based on population projections like Tom went over, and also where infrastructure is either planned to be or exists. And that's why we met with all of the focus groups as well as the public. So with that, I know Tom would be happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
Measure Harrison.
Yes, Jim, can you explain the direct correlation between the comprehensive plan and a zoning amendment application?
Yes, when an applicant wants to have the Planning Commission and legislative bodies consider changing the zoning classification on a piece of property, They make an application. And one of the tests that they have to use to convince the legislative body and the planning commission that it's appropriate is how does it comply with the comprehensive plan, that long range look? When we added the future land use map back in 2020, actually in 2014, I'm sorry, because one didn't exist. That was a tool that anybody can use as a more predictor of the future, if you will. So for the most part, there are 4 or 5 justification statements that you have to have, but the most important one is, does it comply with the comprehensive plan?
Thank you.
Magistrate Hawkins.
Tom, thank you. That was very thorough. And I told you this the other day that I would probably ask you this as I'm kind of looking through the difference between a PUD and the multi-use. And in changing it over here, some things you mentioned were it's a cosmetic change, but then on the other hand, it's also a multi-use is higher density. So as we just, Jim Urban just stated, the comprehensive plan is a justification when you go to do a zoning change. So would you elaborate a little bit on your all's intentions and reasoning a little bit deeper and taking it from, especially Oldham Reserve, from a PUD to multi-use? And I understand PUD is zoning. So, but going from that on the comprehensive plan to multi-use.
Well, let me answer that. The PUD that we had in the future land use map was the only actual zoning classification that was in that map. All the rest is different language in terms of the future land use map. It was confusing because it was the only one that says, well, this is a zoning in the zoning regulations, in the zoning ordinance. So we considered changing that to mixed use because somebody could have multiple types of mixed use. We have PRDs, PUDs. We're proposing a planned neighborhood district. And so we changed and made that classification mixed use. That doesn't necessarily make it any more dense or less dense than the PUD. And it doesn't change the zoning classification on, in particular, Oldham Reserve. None of the future land use map demarcations are changing zoning at all. Like Magistrate Harrison asked, relevant to this is how does somebody go and change the zoning? They have to make application to change zoning, but the future land use map does not do that.
So my concern is that changing it from PUD, which is a specific zoning classification also in the comprehensive plan, to a multi-use, is that we would lose some of the local control of it, of the look of it. And I'm hoping we don't. And I know we're talking about at the exit 14. You look like you're going to say something, Jim.
Well, it's, first of all, it's not multi-use, it's mixed use. And then like I said, this does not change anything that exists. So the PUD on Oldham Reserve is not affected by this at all. It just puts a different connotation on the future land use map. Nothing on any property changes by looking at the future land use map. That would require a zoning change. So nothing changes.
All that's understood. It just, when somebody goes to change the zoning or request to change the zoning, this would be part of the justification statement that in fact, multi-use, or excuse me, mixed use is this, whereas PUD is a little bit more restrictive. And so that's my only concern. And that, so I guess I was just asking the intention then of switching it, other than it's right now a zoning classification on the comprehensive plan, and it's the only zoning classification on the comprehensive plan. But what are the other intentions of switching that over, or is it to keep it congruent with the other 4 or 5 mentioned?
It's just to keep it congruent with other potential mixed uses, correct? Yeah, and again, nothing changes what has been approved for Oldham Reserve.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Okay.
Magistrate Logston.
Jim, I want to congratulate you, Jim, and Thomas and Amy, and I mean, all the mayors, the Crestwood, PB Valley, LaGrange. I mean, I know you all have spent 2.5 years on this, and I know that you all have gotten input from everybody out there that could possibly be inputted. So I truly want to thank you all for all the work that y'all done to it. I mean, I know that y'all put countless hours in at nighttime, going to city council meetings, going to having the public meetings at the South Oldham Fire Department, just all the things that y'all did. So, you know, there's no way that y'all could have got more input from the public and from all utilities and from everybody involved than what y'all have done. So I really want to thank y'all for all you did. I mean, y'all worked tirelessly on this. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And this was Tom's baptism by fire. When he first started about 3 months in, he was assigned the job of updating the comp plan. And I think he did a great job doing it.
And thank you, Jim. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Magistrate Harrison.
Thank you, Judge. I know historically, the document has to make reference to Oldham County Environmental Authority, but at some point in the document, there needs to be a transition, just as there has been in the county from OCA to MSD. And I'm not sure that I felt that or read that in going through the document. So perhaps we can find some smooth way of making that transition, because we should be talking today about MSD and yesterday about OCA.
Right. Appreciate that. Yeah. And if you all don't mind, we will just add wherever it says OCA, we'll / MSD, only because OCA was referenced in the focus groups that we met with, and they did have a part in writing some of it. So maybe we can just put / MSD to infer that it relates to sewers.
Right. I don't think you want to lose the history of the precedents we had with OCA.
Correct.
I mean, OCA was yesterday and MSD is today and MSD tomorrow. One other comment, in the introductory portion of the comprehensive plan, there's one sentence that makes reference to the preparedness of Oldham County in terms of all services being in place for any future development. And that is a little bit too inclusive for me, because I'm not sure we're really quite at that point. We don't have all services in all areas. We don't have sewers everywhere. We don't have broadband everywhere. We don't have fire pressure, fire flow in all of our water systems. So maybe we could tone that down a little bit to where it's more accurate than what it is. It's pretty broad.
Okay.
Magistrate Hounds.
Magistrate Harrison brought this up, and I just thought about it too. And you refer to the Worthington Fire District, and that doesn't really exist anymore. It's actually Anchorage, Middletown. That happened, I guess, about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. You might want to add that to your kind of
And
like the sewer
that's one
district.
revision we can make. And like mentioned earlier, when we had met with the focus groups, those were prior to those to Worthington being dissolved. So I'll just make sure to redline that and make that appropriate change.
Okay.
Magistrate Hawkins.
Tom, I want to make sure it's on the public record that that little space between Cherrywood and Eagle Creek was changed based on per our conversation, the 47 dash.
Yes, ma'am. That will change from mixed use to single family future subdivision.
No, that was mixed use to.
It wasn't mixed, it was multifamily.
Multifamily. Yeah. There's what she's referring to is that she pointed out that there's an existing apartment complex that we had inappropriately marked as in the future land use. And they're really just putting it as it is. It won't be developed because it already is developed land.
And then also, Jim, between Cherrywood and Eagle Creek, it's 47 -00 -41 A, B, and C is part of the golf course, which is marked for something else, but it's part of the golf course, and the rest of the golf course is marked recreation. So I just wanted to notate that change as well. And make
So to elaborate on that, on Ms. Hawkins, there's a portion of the Eagle Creek Golf Course that goes into the Osea development area that is shown as mixed use. But what we'll do is take the portions of that golf course that go into it and just switch those from mixed use to open space. So
Okay, thank
it
you.
looks like a park, just like any other park would.
Yeah, and it's
So
not,
that'll be an easy change.
it's not Osea, it's Oldham Reserve.
Or Oldham Reserve, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you. And my one last comment was on page 17, under mixed use, it's referenced chart number 1 in section 300. And there aren't any charts, but there are tables. So I would maybe change that word from chart to table, if it's your pleasure.
To table. Perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
Right, before we accept a motion to approve this, want to move to the public hearing section of this particular item. I see there are really only 20 participants we have here. But Kevin, does anybody come into the chat room who would like to make a comment for or against the adoption of this comprehensive plan?
There is not. There's one gentleman in there and I asked him if he wanted to speak and he said, no, he was just.
Watching the meeting. All right.
Yes, sir.
Well, then I'll close the public hearing portion and ask for a motion to adopt the comprehensive plan.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion about the plan at this point? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We've been in our meeting here for an hour and 50 minutes. I'm going to suggest that we take a 10-minute break. Would that be all right? I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Let's resume at 4 o'clock.